we are going to discuss how to make a preference schedule. Now, a preference schedule is a table which displays the results of how all of the voters voted in a particular election. So we're going to go through that process. So first what I did is I came up with a question in order to ask all of my voters. My question was, who is your favorite office character? Is it Michael, Dwight, Jim, or Pam? And then I made ballots and sent them out to all of the voters in my election and asked them to write down who they preferred first, who they chose second, who they chose third, and who they chose fourth. In essence, to rank their preferences. And these are the results. These are all the ballots in which I obtained. And if you can see there's all different types of ballots and all different types of preferences. There's actually 14 ballots here. Now, once you have all the ballots, then what you're going to do is you're going to put the ballots which are exactly the same into particular groups. So I'm just randomly going to pick one. I'm going to pick this one. This is a voter who preferred Dwight. Put that down a little bit more. They preferred Dwight first, Jim second, Michael third, and Pam fourth. So what I'm going to do is go through my remaining ballots and see if anybody else voted that exactly the same way. See here, somebody voted Michael first, so no. Oh, here's a Dwight. So Dwight, Jim, Michael, Pam. Yes, that's exactly the same. So that's going to go right here in this group. So there's 2 people who voted like that so far. And then I'm just going to keep, oh, here's another, Dwight, Jim, Michael, Pam. This is exactly the same. However, if it was Dwight, Jim, if it was Pam and then Michael here, if those 2 were switched, it wouldn't be exactly the same and it couldn't go into this group. But so you have to pay attention, and every single one of the preferences has to be the same from first through fourth. So I'm just going to keep going. This is Michael, Pam. We have a Jim, Michael, Pam, Jim, Pam, Michael, and Dwight. Here's another one. Dwight, Jim, Michael, Pam. Yes, that's exactly the same. So that can go into this group. At this point, there's no other ballots that are exactly the same as this, so I'm just going to move on to a different type of ballot. I'm going to choose this one. So this one is Michael, Pam, Jim, Dwight. Michael first, Pam second, Jim third, Dwight fourth. And then I'm just going to look through. Oh, here's one. This is Michael, Jim. It's not Pam, so that means it's not exactly the same, so it wouldn't go in the same group. I'm going to keep looking. Here's a Michael. This is another Jim, so that's not exactly the same, so that would not go in that group. And then there's one more. We have Michael, and oh, it's another Jim. There's no Pam. So this is the only person who voted this particular way. And so that's one group. I'm going to move on to the next group. I'm just going to pick this one and see if there's any other ballots which are exactly the same as this. Anybody who voted Jim first. Here's one. Jim, Pam, Michael, Dwight. Yes, that's exactly the same. So that is going to go into this group. And then I'm going to continue to look for one that has a Jim first place. Yes, Jim first, Pam second, Michael third, Dwight last. That's exactly the same. So that goes into that group. And that's it. So now I'm just going to kind of randomly pick another one. I'm going to go with this one. Michael first, Jim second, Pam third, Dwight fourth. So I'm looking for Michael. Oh, here's Michael, Jim, Pam, Dwight. Okay, that's exactly the same. That goes into that group. And then there's a Pam, and then here's a Michael, Jim, Pam, Dwight. Exactly the same again. So that goes into that group. And then, okay, there's no others. So I'm going to start another group. Pam, Michael, Jim, Dwight. So Pam, Michael, Jim, Dwight. Okay, great. And then Pam, Michael, Jim, Dwight. All right, there's another one. So now all of my ballots are now grouped together with the voters who voted exactly the same. And now we're ready to actually make the preference schedule. So with a preference schedule, you have here the number of voters. That talks about the top line: first choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my first group, the voters who voted. How did they vote? They voted Dwight first. Dwight. Then they voted Jim, Michael third, and Pam fourth. And that first group, in essence, becomes my first column. Now, the number on top is actually how many people voted this way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 people who voted that way. So I'm going to put a 4 on top. That represents there's 4 voters who voted that way. So now I'm going to move to my next group. My next group was Michael first, Pam second, Jim third, and Dwight fourth. And if I count these up, there's only one. So I put a 1 on. There's only one person that voted that way. Now I'm going to go to my next group. It's Jim, Pam, Michael, and Dwight. And then I'm going to count up how many people voted this way. And there's 1, 2, 3. So 3 goes on top. And now I'm going to move to my next group here that voted. Michael is first, Jim, Pam, and Dwight. Let's count up how many people voted that way. We got 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 goes on top. And then lastly, the last group is Pam, Michael, Jim, and Dwight. And let's count up how many people voted this particular way. We have 1, 2, 3. Another group of 3. Okay, and that is our preference schedule. So there's a couple different things that you can take from a preference schedule. The first is the total number of voters. Total number of voters. And how you determine that is just by adding up all of these numbers on top. So 4 plus 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, and that equals 14, which means there's a total of 14 voters in this election. And you will have to find the total number of voters in some of your problems. So you just add up all those numbers on top, and that will tell you the total number of voters. The other thing that you're going to have to know how to do in your problem sets is to come up with how many voters are needed for a majority. Now, in order to find the majority, how many votes are needed for a majority, what you do is you take the total number of voters, and then you divide that by 2. So in this particular example, the total number of voters is 14. So we would go 14, and then we divide that by 2, and that would give us 7. Now 7, that's exactly the halfway point, and we need a majority. So in this example, what we'd have to do is we'd have to add 1 to it, which would give us 8. And in this example, we would need 8 votes for a majority. Now let's say I had a different example, and I'm just going to make up a different example here. Let's say the total number of voters, instead of 14, let's just imagine the total number of voters equaled 15. And I needed to find out how many votes I needed for a majority. Well, then what I do is I take the total number of voters, which is 15, and I would divide that by 2. Now when I go 15 divided by 2, I get 7.5. Now if you end up with a number like this, what you need to do, you can't have half of a person, so you have to round up and to 8. So in this example, you would need 8 votes for a majority.